to 10, with 10 representing excellent management skills, how would you rate yourself as a manager?
I'd probably say a 7 or 8. I mean, especially as going through the MBA program here, made me realize that there's a lot of different things I could be doing, and so really I've tended to focus on the same things over and over again that have kind of worked for me in the past, not
Right.
realizing whether or not they were necessarily, best practice
Right.
or kind of cutting edge theory, and now understanding a little bit more about the skill of management.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely wanting to incorporate more, a greater variety of things into my style.
Okay. Can you give me a couple of examples of your past experience that would represent the rating that you gave? Why you think it's between a 7 and an 8?
Well, the thing is, I think results have always come in. That's probably more just from my own personal evaluation. I think organizationally, we've always met the goals. I mean,
Right.
from the outside looking in, uh, the goals have been met. We've had no major failures or anything like that as a department. So really, it just comes from whether or not I think I've been managing if I could put the perfect manager there and then put myself next to him, at the end of the day, the results might have been exactly the same, but how you do that and how
Right.
you develop things like team spirit or motivation or those types of aspects, they would probably have done them a lot better. And so I just think there's certain aspects there that I realize now, could be better.
Right.
And so again, it's just really, it's not from a performance standpoint because we've met all our goals and challenges.
Just wanting to better your personal
right
experience.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Can you describe the culture or management style in which you found to be the most successful?
Let's see, most successful management style. I think what I tend to respond to, or as far as what I want to really try to bring in more is what I consider, what kind of looking at the literature, is more of a charismatic or transformational type of leadership. But that is, I mean, there's a lot of different aspects to that, and what I really like about it is that the leaders that exhibit that type of management style, are really focused more on the organization as a whole, and really kind of really live to those ideals. And I think
Right.
that's the key. That if you're gonna, it's not do as I say,
Right.
not as I do, but if they actually are living that set of ideals, that can be a very inspiring thing, and it really motivates the entire workforce when they're
Yeah.
focused in that way.
Right.
And so I think that's probably one of the most powerful leadership styles, but it's pretty rare to find.
Just having everybody on the same page makes a big difference.
Right. In a big, in a very positive way, because I think that there are very negative aspects as well that can really get at the core of be at odds with some of your core beliefs, and making you do things you really don't want to do, or feeling trapped, or those types of things. And that, so there's a flip side. It's a very powerful style of management, and it comes with a lot of ethical responsibility. And so it's just you don't find it all the time.
Yeah. In the past, have you ever had an employee who was underperforming? And if so, how did you address the situation, or how would you address the situation?
Yeah, I mean, underperformance, I think, just I've had them pretty much at all organizations. I mean, it's just especially when you kind of inherit a group and you've got to kind of work with what you have, and really the focus on development of a core set of skills for the job. I think you usually can look back at a general job description, as published by the organization, and start lining up the expectations, they're plain to see, very clearly communicated with the actual performance, what you're seeing, and start, when you line that up, I think it becomes, a pretty clear evaluation, and it's an objective evaluation under a set criteria, that basically outlines what they need to do to improve. Now, the other part of that is you've got to communicate that stuff real time. You can't really just let it build up. And so if there's things that aren't matching expectations, you've got to handle those as they occur and give timely feedback so that they can make those changes, because it's really not fair to save them all up and just unload on them at one time. Periodically, just because, again, learning the techniques here, that's just not a real effective way of development. And so, but at the same time, there's certain skills that you can develop through training, etc. So basically the development of a formal plan to get some of those skills developed over time, and evaluations along the way, because that's really a contract, if you will, with the employee that says, I'm willing to do what I can with the resources I have available, and get you trained or try to get you up to speed in a particular area, but you've got to take that and run with it. And so that goes both ways, and if they're not willing to do that, then it moves to the next stages. Because at the end of the day, if it's not a good fit, they're miserable, we're miserable, and you're much better off pursuing something else, either in another department or outside the company.
So do you find in that situation where they're given the additional resources they need or the additional training they need, that typically they latch onto that and then, improve, or is it they're really not the right fit for that job role?
I've had it work both ways.
Yeah.
Folks that realized they really didn't want to be accountants and had been in a wrong role for a really long
and are
time.
Just going through the motions.
Right, and that that wasn't working. We were in those experiences, they're not meeting expectations. They're not essentially embracing the and I found that more in the technical roles, where you've really got to stay up with emerging guidance and those types of issues. So I'd say it's usually about 50-50. Sometimes they really needed that motivational talk and realized that they weren't, most of the time they realize something is wrong.
Yeah.
They've anticipated the conversation for a long period of time, and normally it's kind of a big relief to get it out in the open, and you're actually working towards some kind of resolution.
I think a lot of times they try to camouflage it so that, and until it's brought to light by someone else, they're like,
right, yeah, they're usually not surprised.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, I wondered when somebody was going to notice that type thing.
I just needed a little confirmation.
Right, yeah, and I think that's part of just setting, good expectations and boundaries, and again, just keeping in touch with your workforce, because those types of situations, while they're not for sure not good for the person doing it, that can be a really distracting, demotivational element for the rest of the group. If let's just say everybody else is performing at a high level and you've got one that's not, this internal discussion of fairness comes to bear, and there's not a lot you can argue about why that's allowed to continue.
And as a manager, if you've got that open communication, I would feel comfortable going to my manager and saying, look, this isn't working for me.
Right.
But a lot of people don't have that comfort level.
Right. Oh yeah.
They're
right.
they're like, a job, no job.